Music is beautiful. Yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you. That's all right. So, I started this morning by saying, how you doing? Anything going on this week? Let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and audibly out of the mouth. Ready? That is scientifically proven to reset your brain. So your mind wants to start spinning into all the what ifs and the what abouts and the how comes and the stories and the panic and the fear. And we take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and audibly out of the mouth, and there's a reset button in our brain. Just that one thing can help us come back to this moment, because this moment is all we truly have. And that's what's been helping me all week long. At first, like probably many of you, I went right to despair. I went right to grief. I went right to rage and why and all of those things we do when anything happens in our life that is not our preference. When anything happens in our life that is a non-preferred experience, as Ernest Holmes says, he doesn't say good or bad, right or wrong, preferred or non-preferred. I like that. So we've had a non-preferred experience, and anytime, I mean, I'm sure what happened today probably had nothing to do with Tuesday, right? Whatever you heard. So we've all dealt with hard news, challenging times. A friend of mine recently said and reminded us at one of our women's groups, we've been through hard things before. All of us have been through hard things, and we've come out the other side. And we have a consciousness that tells us that we are one with all of life, which is hard sometimes to hold that, right? It's hard sometimes to hold that. But what about those people? What about that person? What about that event? Is that part of God? We either believe it or we don't. So, for me, I'm going to talk about me. I don't know how you do what you do, but I'm going to talk about me for this week, how I'm moving through. I'm grieving and I'm living at the same time. Because as I've spoken about before, I've discovered I can hold many thoughts and feelings at exactly the same moment. We've just lost our dog of 16 years. We've had her for 14, but we lost our dog right before all this other stuff. So I'm not only grieving other stuff, but we're grieving our dog, which is a big grief because every time I come home, I look for her. I better not talk about that anymore, or I'll just be a blubbering mess. Why is it our pets we weep more for our pets than people? Why is that? I don't know why. It doesn't matter. Side topic. So there's all kinds of grief going on for all of us. We've all had grief that we walked into the week with. And we've also had joy and wonder and beauty and incredible things happening in our lives. Wondrous things. So for me, I said early on this week, I said, I'm going to go into the stage of grief of denial. I'm going into denial. I'm going into the la period. La, nothing's happening. But I said, it's also my act of rebellion. My act of rebellion is I refuse to let one person or one group of people in the world affect how I move in the world. And I refuse to give up my joy. I refuse. Because if I do, I succumb. And that doesn't mean I'm not grieving. I want to be very clear about that. It doesn't mean that I'm passing by my feelings. I'm having my feelings. And so in improvisation, I'm a drama teacher, and I teach improv all the time to people. And there's a very powerful rule in improvisation called yes and. We never say yeah, but. We say yes and. We add to. If somebody in a scene gives us information, isn't it fun being on a submarine? We don't say, no, we're not in a submarine, we're in an airplane. We don't negate what we've been given. We say yes to what we've been given, whatever it is. This thing has happened. Yes. And now what can I do? What can I add to this scene to keep it moving forward instead of getting stuck? And we also don't get stuck in those scenes in conflict. We might have some conflict in an improv scene, but the main mandate is, if you're doing a scene with somebody, to move to agreement. What a great rule for life. We can have conflict, but our goal and our aim and our purpose is to move to agreement. So some of the great examples I've used in my classes are, there was one where there was a bad guy running away from a cop, and they were like, imaginarily running across the stage like they were running down the street, and then they were like, the bad guy said, "I'm really tired, can we take a break?" And the cop said, "Yeah, I'm really tired too." And they both stopped and went, and they took a little break, and then they were like, are you good? Okay, let's go. And then they started chasing each other again. It was great. And the other one I saw that I thought was great was this guy was robbing somebody's house of fine art, and the owner came down the stairs in the scene, "What are you doing? Steal all my stuff." And then the owner was like, "Oh no, you don't want that painting. You want this one. It's worth a lot more money. Take this one instead." So conflict, let's move to agreement. Yes and. Yes to whatever we're given, good, bad, or ugly. And what do I want to do with that now? Do I want to have a pile of poo-poo, or do I want to have fertilizer? Fertilizer, absolutely. So we can grow things so that we're not stuck in the mire and the muck. It's very easy. I've said to my family in the last year, I think I live in the multiverse, because I always see everything that's happening all at the same moment. So when something happens, or when an event occurs, I can see all the terrible and all the good and everything in between at exactly the same time, which is a weird thing to do. But my mind can easily go to all the dark, all the what ifs, all the scary places. It's so easy. I've got a great creative imagination. Thank you, brain. But sometimes it's a little hard, so I have to rein it in. Yeah, I know, I get that. I feel all that, brain, I get it. I feel that heart that got cracked open with hope and now feels like I've been betrayed. So no, am I going to close my heart? Are you going to close your heart? I refuse. I refuse. I am dogged and intent and intentional. That's really the better word, intentional, about keeping my heart open, keeping my love wide, and continuing to cast the net and leaving sparkles of rainbows and shiny thoughts in my wake wherever I go. That's my purpose in life. And some people will feel that, and some people won't. And that's not my job. My job is to continue to cast rainbow sparkles and sprinkles of light wherever I go, moving forward in life. I am not paying a lot of attention to Facebook, but I'm a fast scroller, and I'm only looking for those things that are bringing me light, or ways to cope, to move forward, not to get stuck in the swirl, because there's so much of that. So this is a quote from Barbara Kingsolver that I've shared online a couple of times this week, but I want to share it with you right now in case you didn't see it. Barbara Kingsolver: "Truth and love have been smacked down so many more times in history before today. Truth, because it's often inconvenient, and love, because it is vulnerable. But truth is like gravity and carbon and the sun behind an eclipse. It's still there. And love stays alive if you tend it like a flame. If you feel crushed by unkindness today, it's a time for grieving, reaching out to loved ones, noticing one bright color somewhere in the day, remembering what there is to love, starting with the immediate, the place and the people we can tend ourselves and make safe. We can't save everything all at once, but it's still worth saving something, because there are so many of us to do it. And we are still here today, exactly as we were yesterday. Exactly. Did anything major, other than this event that happens somewhere else, did anything major happen to change your day from one day to the next? No, probably not, unless you had something else happen. And we are all still here today exactly as we were yesterday, like gravity and carbon and the sun behind an eclipse. So I read that, and I liked it very much. It helped me. It gave me my permission to grieve and my permission to move forward all at the same time. So I've started a thread online, and I'm starting a practice almost every night at our dinner table. Something beautiful that I experienced today was ... Something beautiful that I experienced today was ... And it can be the biggest thing or the simplest thing. Something beautiful I've experienced so far this morning was a delicious breakfast, eggs, spinach, and oyster mushrooms that I gleaned from our property. Yeah, we have oyster mushrooms, and we have chanterelles on our property. And a billion other kind of mushrooms that we're not touching because we don't know what they are. But, I mean, this year is the most mushroomiest we've ever seen in our property. I don't know what the climate is just perfect, but just the whole property is just scattered with mushrooms. And some of the areas in the trees where all the duff and the bracken is fallen and it's not a kind of a developed or cleaned up space, in between our walkways and our paths, there's all this stuff. And all these little mushroom trails, tiny little white mushrooms about this big, that look like a little fairy ran through the trees and left these little mushroom trails in their wake. But they're so small, you have to really pay attention to see them. That's something beautiful that I experienced. Something beautiful I experienced today is you, and being here with you in a community of love and light and truth and dogged determination. Dogged determination, I like that phrase. It just says I'm going to just, like the little engine, we're just going to keep on trucking, keep on going. Yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can. Not I think I can. Yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can. I can do today. I can do the next 10 minutes. Sometimes we have to just do 10 minutes at a time, right? Can I do the next 10 minutes? Yes, I can. And then I'll do the next 10 after that. If we try to think too far ahead, it's a futile exercise because nothing generally turns out exactly the way we thought. Generally, most of the time, it's something else. Years ago, my husband's mom had a stroke. We lived in Huntington Beach, which is in Orange County, California. She lived in San Diego with her mom, her 99-year-old mom at the time. She was 76, and she had a massive stroke. And Will's sister moved in immediately because she lived in San Diego to help things happen. I went down for occasional weekends to give her respite. And then we started thinking about, well, now what do we do? What's going to be next? How are we going to move forward with whatever's happening with her? And we kept trying. I noticed especially Will's sister kept trying to figure out, like, what's going to happen a year from now? And I'm like, we don't know that. We don't know that. First of all, they thought she was going to die, and then she didn't die. And then she kept getting better, markedly better. So I said, every plan we try to make for 6 months or a year down the line is not going to be effective because every day is different. If she's having a down day, that doesn't mean anything. If she's having an up day, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that's where we are today. And talking about that with her gave us both permission to just try not to, we can't plan all that far out. Let's plan this week, maybe. What appointments are there? What's the next thing to do? Who's coming over for dinner? Those kinds of things. So can we just plan today? What are we going to do today? And then Peggy Gannon, which I also love this author, and this too. We do not need to turn to joy yet. We do not need to find hope yet. We do not need to organize yet. Today we can howl at the moon, cover our mirrors, rend our garments. There will be time to reignite, to fight for our country, to protect the vulnerable with everything we have. But today we grieve. So maybe today you find a little space and you grieve, and then you look for something beautiful. Something beautiful that I experienced today was, we never walk alone. We are never alone. There is always this powerful one presence that we are part of, the great I am, that walks with us. And we know for sure in this very purple place that we live that there are lots of other people that walk with us in love and hope and kindness and compassion. We know this about where we live, and we know this about every place. Every place has people that walk in love and light and kindness and compassion. Every place. And we will find those that are vulnerable, and we will protect them, and we will stand by, and we will wail, and we will howl, and we can do all of it with a sense of joy and gratitude and release, because we don't need to carry that stuff. We've got other things to do. We've got grandchildren to love, pets to pet, people that we want to hug and kiss every week. Let's just take care of each other the best way we can. And if you know somebody who's hurting, just reach out or buy them a cookie and take it to them. I have a friend I visit almost every week, and I always buy her a chocolate chip cookie. And it's the biggest thing ever in her week sometimes. Thank you for buying me a cookie. Take a breath. I'd like to invite you, if you choose, to share one beautiful thing I experienced today or one beautiful thing I experienced this week was. Just to share it out into the space. No beauty? Not any? Okay, wave at me. Okay, contemplate. One beautiful thing.
So after those storms,
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's
after
on.
those storms came and blew the crap out of Forks, I don't know what happened here, but man alive, this sun came out. The clouds were still there, but there was like this break in these, ominous, dark, rolling clouds. And the sun was like, I am here. And it was just lit up everything, all the tops of the trees, and the new fence that I just put up, and it was just glorious. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because I knew you were up there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course it closed back up, and it started raining again, because Forks, well, it rains a lot. So anyway, that was just like a glorious moment.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I don't think that mic's on.
How's that?
It just picks it up better for the people online.
So this week, I have a lot of changes going on in my life, and I knew that there was a person that I was going to have to confront about some changes. And I just was having a huge dilemma. How am I going to find them? Because they kind of often isolate, and trying to make all these plans. And probably within 24 hours the next morning, the universe put that person right in my path. So it was like, oh, God made this so much easier. And so I really need to remember to just not worry. Just stay on the path. And if it's going to be, it's going to be. So thank you.
I say often, what is my business, but how is not my business? What I would like to see, what I would like to have intention about, what I would like and prefer in my life, I can be maybe in charge of what I prefer. But how that shows up is none of my business, because it's always an unexpected way that I couldn't have planned. I'm a really good planner, but usually the best things are stuff I never could have figured out the plan for how that happened. So yeah, good.
Well, this last 2 weeks, I've been in Cle Elum taking care of my cousin's house and their dog and 5 kitties. And but the morning that after they left, and I got up the next morning, and they kind of told me this would happen. I look out the window, and they live in this little valley with the mountains all around, and there are 27 wild turkeys walking through the yard.
Oh, cool.
So I counted them, and I texting people saying, "Oh, over there." Yeah. Well, the next morning I get up and I look outside, and there are 48 wild turkeys.
Oh my gosh.
Walking through the yard. Can't let the dog out because she will go nuts.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I lived in Oklahoma for 20 years. I saw 2 turkeys. They were much smaller. These turkeys are like huge. I couldn't believe how big they were. But they certainly aren't like the round turkeys that we, get
Yeah.
from the store. So anyway, it was just this wonderful thing to see all these turkeys and hear them talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, theirs are like a really high-pitched kind of sound.
Yeah, they don't usually show themselves, so they must have felt really safe.
Yay for the turkeys.
Anyone else?
Something beautiful I experienced today or anytime this week.
Well, I'll have to share that the beauty and the love and the support, and the universe knows. I had a shock Friday with my neighbor. Had a meltdown anxiety attack. Well, me. That left me so stunned and numbed all day and night. Then Susan calls me and says, "How about doing some trees?" And I said, "Okay," because I just heard on NPR saying, when you're in grief or stunned, take action. So I went, and I got pictures, and Bill's going to put some more pictures of the trees next week up here so we can see these beautiful trees that were being decorated.
Oh, sweet.
But the thing is, I got a call from my sister. I have baby sisters. They're my grown-up adult sisters now.
They're just your younger sisters.
Suhan called to say, has Sherry called you? I said, no. She said, well, she was rolling her companion that she's been knowing for 10 years, which is for the first time in her life in her 50s, she found somebody who truly loves her. Well, he just passed out in a wheelchair on her way out, rolling in from a store that he likes to go to. And I'm with my friends, Marla, Susan, and Cecilia, that's not here today, who brought me over, and she helped decorate trees. So in the midst of pain and grief, I was in the right and perfect place to get it, because it was a shock.
Yeah.
So there's your beauty,
Yeah.
and the universe is watching over us and putting you in the right place at the perfect time. Because if I'd been home alone, that would not have been good. Not after the other shock.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because grief and joy go hand in hand all the time. Our grief over our dog is because of the joy we have of the dog. It's just hand in hand. There's no separation of those two feelings. So we have to allow ourselves, well, we don't have to. My invitation is, because I say this to myself, because I forget, I want to either go numb or bypass. And so that's like my first instinct. And then my brain kicks in and goes, no, that's not, we tried that. That doesn't work. But my first instinct is I'm just going to go numb. I'm just going to numb out. I'm not going to feel anything. I'm not going to feel joy. I'm not going to feel sorrow. I'm not going to feel anything. Gosh darn it. Probably use stronger language than that. But no, because again, I refuse. I refuse with the most joy I can in my heart. I refuse with the most spaciousness I can refuse something. It's weird to refuse something and be spacious at the same time, but I refuse. Yes, Glenn. Something beautiful?
Something beautiful and everlasting.
She's coming with the microphone. Keep stalling. She's coming.
Apparently this has been a momentous week in the world, and for the first time in my life, it didn't faze me a bit. And what I realized, because I had been thinking about either there's God and nothing, or there's nothing. And if there's God, then everything is God, because there can't be God and nothing, which means the future, the president-elect, and everything else going on in the world is all some part of God. Yeah. And so I thought, well, if I am that, why would I deny the Creator the pleasure of the joy of its own creation? And the only way God can feel joy is through me in my world. And so I thought, so that opened up a whole thing of, oh wow, this can be really fun. and if history keeps, and herstory keeps moving along, and if we look back, and it's pretty much, nothing much has changed. And yet at the same time, we're on the verge of change.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We are indeed transforming. The Christ of us that is our freedom. Christ means divinity. The divinity of us, as we embrace it and embody it, that transforms the entirety of creation. So any one of us is powerful enough, has a long enough lever to change the whole world. So these are the thoughts, the beautiful thoughts that have been rolling around in my brain, and they seem to need to express themselves.
Good job.
Amen.
We like the expression. One of the phrases from my song, release the rocky past, embrace my true destiny. The journey is entwined inside my divinity. The journey is entwined inside of our divinity. And we are on the crux of a next phase of evolution. And that's why it's really messy. That's my belief. That's why it's really messy now, because we can't put clean water in a dirty bathtub. We have to pull the plug and let all that dirty water swirl around, and it looks really scary, and there's a big eddy and swirls and dirt. You have to let the dirt out before you can put the plug back in and get some clean water in that tub. You keep adding clean water to a dirty tub, you'll never get clean water. So we're in that process. Rose.
So Glenn's sharing made me realize that I saw the movie, The Lost Years and How to Reclaim It. Fantastic film. I've never seen a documentary. Everybody should see it. But it's about 0-point energy, free energy, and the history of it actually can happen, has been created. And I wasn't really aware of that to the detail that this movie talked about. I don't know how many. I'm going to go back and rewatch it. It's free on YouTube.
Cool.
And at the end of it, he said, it's up to us. It's up to us to find those scientists that know how to do that and support them, because the corporate world will not support him. Because anyway, it's a very, very amazing, and I was shocked. I love new information. I knew it had been found, but he goes like through 6 or, I don't know, maybe 8 people, I can't even remember them all, that have created free energy. Most of them were killed. So anyway, but it's up to us, guys. Everyone should watch that film, and we need to figure out how to get it, because there will be peace in the world.
Thank you,
if
Rose.
there's free energy.
Amen.
The movie is The Lost History and How to Reclaim It by John Greer.
Thank you. We got a hand up here. Thanks, Rose. Thanks for bringing that up here. Thank you. And then we'll close out.
Couple things. One is that, as you're looking at me, you might be surprised that I got a comment today where somebody was referring to me, and they basically were saying, shut up, old man.
Old
Which
white
was
man.
surprising and looking at me. I found humor in that. So that was because I was kind of talking out my ass. And then the other thing is I found a point of connection with Asha's oldest nephew. Her brother's got 4 kids, the oldest. I found a point of connection, gardening. Discussion.
Excuse me.
I had a conversation today. We talked a week ago. We plan to talk again next week. But this amazing young man and his wife, brilliant doctors, just like crazy cool people, and just fun to interact with. And for me, my little point of beauty, what was
Something I experienced, something beautiful that I experienced today.
Something beautiful that I experienced today was finding a point of connection with this extraordinary person, where otherwise I just probably wouldn't make the effort. I absolutely just wouldn't make the effort to do that, and my life would be the way that it normally is, where I'm not really connected with people that much. But I found this place where I could, I did, and it was lovely.
Yay, thank you.
Just while it's here, my family knows that acronyms pop up to me, and I do my best to put in the midst of stuff, where's the kernel of joy? Just ordinary yeses, J-O-Y. Where in all of this stuff can I find a yes that I can take as that kernel and allow it to grow. So, yes.
Yes. Excellent. I don't want to squeal here. Turn that off. Oh, no, that one. That one. Got it. I got it. So I just want to close. We're going to close with a prayer, but before I do that, I just want to say, I think the most important thing for us right now is to connect with each other, to connect with people that we love, even people that we maybe don't always agree with. Find those points of connection where we can authentically be with somebody else, even if it's for 2 minutes. Connect with that person at the grocery store. Look the checker in the eye and say, thank you for being here today. Just thank you for being here today. I've been doing that in a lot of places that I go. If I go to a hospital or the doctor's office, every person I encounter that works there, thank you for being here today. Because they didn't have to be there. I mean, yeah, people need jobs, but they didn't have to be there. They could have been somewhere else or done something else. Thank you for being here today for me. And how can we connect with each other? That's really important. It's going to be, for many of us, easy to try to isolate and shut down. So if you notice yourself doing that, if you can catch yourself, pick up the phone, send an email, send a text. Just call me, talk to me for 5 minutes, ask for what you need. Ask for what you need. This is also for all the women in the room. Ask for what you need. Because many of us are not very good about that. I found myself, I can't call that person because they're freaked out too. I can't call that person because they're freaked out too. I can't call that person with my because they're freaked out too. And I don't even know that. I made presumptions. Every single one of the people that I said, oh no, I don't want to bother them, would have gleefully and joyfully talked me down. Every single one. And I didn't give them the opportunity to connect with me. I wasn't vulnerable enough. So here I am in front of people saying, I did not do that up until now. My mom taught me that phrase that she learned from somebody else. We do something and then we realize that's not what we truly want. Well, up until now, that's what I was feeling. Up until now, that's what I believed. I call it the magic eraser. It's like, up until now, I believed this thing about myself or somebody else or about whatever. Up until now. That phrase gives us an opportunity to turn the wheel, sometimes forcefully, in the direction we prefer. We choose. I'm going to choose this direction. I know the car thinks it wants to go that way, but I'm going to go this way. I'm going to forcefully turn the wheel of hope and kindness and love. Take a breath. Let it go. In through the nose and out through the mouth, breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. There's one power and presence, one light and one life, one love and one law. It goes by many names and all names and no names. It is the fabric of all life, of every universe, of every being. It is the tie that binds in love and connection and possibility, pure potential, that dwells in yes and. For nothing is ever subtracted in this one life. It is just changed and mutated. The energy from the Big Bang still exists today in every single thing. And everything changes form. And the energy remains. And we are all of that. The data of the day does not make the day. The attitude of the day makes the day. And we open now to unimaginable, wondrous possibilities for light and love and joy and compassion and inclusion and care and kindness and equity We open the door wider than ever before, allowing all things unlike that to easily and effortlessly be released and remutated into something else. There is an energetic force that wants to go to constriction and fear and lack, and we invite that gently, lovingly, kindly in our own beings, in our own hearts, to mutate into something else, something bigger, something more inclusive, and something infinitely more powerful, the one life, where we live and move and have our being. We have our being here in this one life. And I am so grateful to remember this truth, even in the moment of grief, to have the anchor. I also am grateful for the beauty in this place where we live, to walk in nature. Nature always knows what to do, when to fall away, when to bloom, when to rest, when to pack energy into a life. So we follow the path of nature. We go out in nature. We breathe the air. We hug the trees. We caress the fallen leaves that gave their lives so the tree can live another year. I release these words knowing that they are done as I speak them, and how is none of my business. And I am grateful, 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 and so it is.